Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Hello, Catholic pilgrims, and welcome to day 275 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. I was once having a conversation with somebody who's very close to me, and during that conversation, this person said, "Nobody is going to tell me how to be a Christian. I decide that for myself." And I was so taken aback by that statement. I just kind of sat with it for a minute, and I couldn't even think of what to say because it's such a kind of outlandish thing to say, I guess. Nobody is going to tell you. You are the sole deciding factor. And so this person walked away, and I have mused over that statement many, many times, just toiling it over in my mind, wondering what causes us to think that. And it boils down to one thing: pride. So today in Sister Faustina's readings, it's going to sound like we're going to be reading a lot of numbers. However, two of them I'm not going to read because it's more like a table. She's listed out an examination of conscience. I'm not going to read through it because that would just be awkward. So feel free to look at those yourself. If you'll notice, one of the things she struggles the most with is humility, which I'm pretty sure all of us can relate to. So we will be reading from Notebook 5, numbers 1352 through 1359. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Chart of inner control. Particular examine. Unity with the merciful Christ. Because I am united to Jesus, I must be faithful always and everywhere, and I must be interiorly united with the Lord, while exteriorly observing fidelity to the rule, particularly that of silence. When I hesitate on how to act in some situations, I always ask love. It advises best. 6th day. O my God, I am ready to accept your will in every detail, whatever it may be. However you may direct me, I will bless you. Whatever you ask of me, I will do with the help of your grace. Whatever your holy will regarding me might be, I accept it with my whole heart and soul, taking no account of what my corrupt nature tells me. Once, when I was passing by a group of people, I asked the Lord if they were all in the state of grace because I did not feel his sufferings. Because you do not feel my sufferings, it does not follow that they must all be in the state of grace. At times, I allow you to be aware of the condition of certain souls, and I give you the grace of suffering solely because I use you as the instrument of their conversion. Where there is genuine virtue, there must be sacrifice as well. One's whole life must be a sacrifice. It is only by means of sacrifice that souls can become useful. It is my self-sacrifice which, in my relationship with my neighbor, can give glory to God, but God's love must flow through this sacrifice because everything is concentrated in this love and takes its value from it. Bear in mind that when you come out of this retreat, I shall be dealing with you as with a perfect soul. I want to hold you in my hand as a pliant tool perfectly adapted to the completion of my works. I was listening to a homily from my priest, and he was talking about how what is so awesome in the Catholic faith is that there's all kinds of different ways to practice your faith, depending on what speaks most to you. And then he went on to clarify, meaning, if you are very much into nature and animals and things like that, there's the Franciscan way of life. And if you're very much into theology and apologetics and studying, there's the Dominican way of life. And if you're very much into being a missionary and evangelizing and getting out there and working with the people, there's the Jesuit way of life. And, there's the Divine Mercy Chaplet to pray, and there's the Rosary to pray, and there's, devotions to certain saints that, are the patron saint of something particular that maybe speaks to you. There's just all kinds of ways to get involved and to find, your little niche. But he said something that was very important is he said, at the heart of all these things is to follow the church and its teachings and the will of God. It doesn't matter if you are a lay Dominican or a lay Franciscan, or you just really love praying the rosary every day, or you really love praying the Divine Mercy Chaplet every day. At the heart of all those things is to follow the teachings of the Catholic Church and to find and follow God's will for your life, and to submit yourself to God's will, and just to lay open your life in front of Him and say, show me the path that you want me to take. Show me how you want me to be an instrument, just like he says to Sister Faustina. Show me how to be a pliant tool, perfectly adapted to the completion of His works. So we can do that in a number of ways. In the Catholic Church, there's just so many beautiful and wonderful devotions and practices and things like that. We can't do them all, but typically over time people find what is most effective for them and the most meaningful for them. But back to what I talked about in the beginning of the podcast, I was talking with somebody who's close to me, and we were talking about religion, and all of a sudden they said, nobody is going to tell me how to be a Christian. I'll do it my way. And like I said, I was very much taken aback. And this person doesn't really do much with their faith. They believe in God. I believe that. However, aside from that, there's not a ton of things that they're doing in order to show that, which is often kind of typical of people who state these kinds of things. I'll do Christianity my way. And I was so taken aback by the statement that I didn't know what to say. And then when I kind of gathered my bearings, I didn't know how to say it in a way that wasn't harsh. I had to think about that for a while. I was like, where do you get the idea that you can just do it however you want? That's why we have 30,000 Protestant denominations in the world. And so it's something that we do have to think about, because we can't just do Christianity our way. So, we get these very vague, ambiguous, no lines are drawn. You don't really know what you're believing in. You're just doing what you want to do while saying, but I do believe in God. And, from my own experience and having a similar type of attitude, that just means I am not going to do a whole lot at all. And I want the label of Christian, but I don't really want to do much that it involves or that it asks of me. I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. I don't want to be asked too much. I don't want to have to give up certain beliefs that keep me comfortable in the world, that don't give me any friction, that don't cause me to lose friends. From my experience, that's what I've noticed. But Sister Faustina here today has the most perfect and appropriate response. She says in 1356, "Oh my God, I am ready to accept your will in every detail, whatever it may be. However you may direct me, I will bless you. Whatever you ask of me, I will do with the help of your grace. Whatever your holy will regarding me might be, I accept it with my whole heart and soul, taking no account of what my corrupt nature tells me." That is the attitude of a Christian, of a true Christian, right there. We don't always follow it perfectly, but that should be our attitude. I will accept your will, whatever you ask of me, down to the last tiny detail. I will do it. I will do it. Whatever my corrupt nature tells me, I will set that aside, even though it sounds nice, and I will do what you need me to do. I will follow what you want me to do. I will practice how you want me to practice. I will worship you how you want me to worship you. This is the appropriate response to God, who laid down his life for us. Not, you know what, thanks for what you did on the cross, but I'm going to do things my way. Nobody's going to tell me how to do Christianity. Not even God. Can Christ tell you how to do Christianity? Is that a possibility? And it's a huge problem with pride. Because in other areas of our life, we allow other people to tell us how to do something. When we go to college and to school, we listen to our teachers and allow them to teach us. They're not always right, obviously, but we still, allow them to speak and say things and, guide us and teach us. When we get to our jobs, we listen to our bosses and our supervisors. We don't walk into our job and say, look, nobody here is going to tell me how to do anything. I will do this job my way. That would get you fired so fast. It's such a prideful attitude and just very much lacking in humility. And there was a time in my life when I was very much like this. I think that's why it was so shocking to me when I heard this person say it, because it was something that I did. When I walked away from God, I was like, I'll just do it my way. And, I decided that you don't have to go to church, and I didn't read scripture, and I followed my own moral code, which was not good. And it got me a whole lot of nowhere, because I just decided it was my way and nobody else's way, and nobody was going to tell me what to do, not even Christ. And I learned after many years that that was a terrible way to go through life, and not very productive, not very meaningful, and lacking in a lot of happiness. Because ultimately, when we try to do things only our way, we become very selfish and self-centered, and we know that just doesn't breed a happy heart. So just something to think about. I know I see a lot of people online talking about how they can do Christianity however. And for the most part, I just keep silent, because online people are not going to hear me or receive it, mostly because they don't know who I am. But if you have those tendencies within yourself to think that you can do Christianity however you want, not following the teachings of the Catholic Church and her practices, and following your own will over the will of God, it's something to really, really think about. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you back here for day 276. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.